we will invite our Professor Eric Tsui, who is a very well-known professor from Hong Kong Polytechnic University. And he is also the very honorary advisor, knowledge management Hong Kong. And Professor Eric also our GO-TKM Global Chief Academic Officer. We would like to invite the Professor Eric to share with us the retention and sharing of tacit knowledge, the challenges and the opportunities. Hi, Professor Eric.
Is my audio coming through okay? Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you, everybody, and good morning to all of you. It's a great opportunity to connect with all of you, and great opportunity for me to share some of the things that I've been, working on and worrying about tacit knowledge. Right, meet Mr. Tanaka. He's Japanese, obviously. You can see the flag, you can see the face, and you can also deduce that Mr. Tanaka probably is past retirement age, but guess what? He is still in full-time employment capacity in Japanese companies. Well, in fact, in Japanese companies, this is very normal. This is ordinary. Japanese companies maintain a large group of officers who have passed the retirement age and continue to pay them in full-time capacity and full-time salary. Well, this defies many Western management principles because, if someone is of retirement age, give opportunity to the new guys. No, not for Japanese companies, and Japanese companies are still very profitable. So, why is Mr. Tanaka, still got a place in there? Well, obviously, it's because of the knowledge he possesses, right? It's because of the Japanese company values his expertise, his experience, his connection, and all the things that he may still contribute to the younger generation in the company. So I use that to launch the title of my talk, Retention and Sharing of Tacit Knowledge, Challenges and Opportunities. Now, just before I go any further, just to clarify, tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge is just one way, one of many ways that we can slice and dice knowledge management. Knowledge management can be an increasingly complex topic, but on this occasion, let's not make it too difficult. And I just take the easy entry point of differentiating knowledge into only two types: tacit and explicit. Now, no doubt you've heard about that before. You probably have seen this diagram before, the famous iceberg, diagram, and using the iceberg and the water line to illustrate what's surfacing above the waterline is something that is visible. You can touch it, you can quantify it, and that's explicit knowledge. But what's being submerged and is not visible and difficult to assess and access is the tacit knowledge, and seemingly it's of great proportion. It's much more. I can't quantify it, but you can assume that it's much more than what we possess in explicit knowledge. And worse, we are not entirely conscious about what we possess in tacit knowledge, and I'll elaborate more about that later on. So tacit knowledge it's very contextual, it's very personal. It has to be interpreted, it has to be substantiated, and it usually associated with our experience and still very sticky inside people's head, right? So it's not already being written down. It's difficult to quantify it and write it down as well. It's sad to see Professor Nonaka, our famous father of KM, passed away around this time last year, but I was lucky enough to attend several of his presentations, and Professor Nonaka has always stressed about the importance of tacit knowledge, and is that tacit knowledge is the origin of everything. Any other piece of knowledge, it has to be derived. For example, explicit knowledge, it's of much less value than tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge, is the independent factor, and from tacit knowledge you can generate explicit, but not the other way around. Well, I use this simple example to illustrate the importance and the value of tacit knowledge. A simple video with just music, and it lasts for about 1.5 minutes. There you go. I think this video vividly illustrates and convinces us about the value and importance of tacit knowledge. Young engineers, they're well trained, they're qualified, but you can never expect they know everything because they don't have the in-depth experience. On the other hand, the retired engineer obviously have seen the many, maybe thousands of such cases, and therefore he's got the intuition, he's got the gut feeling, and he's got the tacit experience about exactly what was troubling the engine, and therefore he was very precisely pinpoint and very quickly restore the engine to power. That's the really the drawing on the power of tacit knowledge. And so far, I've been emphasizing the importance of tacit knowledge, and I think it pays to illustrate this spectrum that I always believe is very important, and that is we are learning all the time, and learning enable us to create knowledge, including tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge. And typically, we acquire new knowledge and we articulate. Our brain articulates new knowledge with what we already know. Our mental model expands, and from there, hopefully we can generate more ideas, creative ideas, and out of many ideas, some of those become successful. And again, hopefully, if we can truly create innovation success, then the sweet success will come ultimately with economic development. For yourself, for the individual, for the company, for the team, for the organization, for the country, and for the world. So, right. So, the good learning and knowledge ultimately leads to economic development. Well, coming back to tacit knowledge, it's difficult to put a finger on it. It's being involved in conversations, right? When we talk to each other, we are using the knowledge we have in our head to conduct that conversation. When we're reading something, according to Nonaka, we are internalizing something into our brain, based on explicit knowledge, and that's again tacit knowledge, from explicit to tacit, right? We could be thinking, that definitely tacit knowledge, and we could be practicing other things as well, which is also applying what we know as tacit knowledge. So tacit knowledge goes on all the time, in a random cycle of intermittent activities. And there are research, clearly vindicating the power of tacit knowledge. I'm not going to read that out, but you can run your eyes over it, and it's quite convincing that tacit knowledge has been validated on many occasions, that they contribute to better decision making, good optimization of the decisions, as well as co-creation of knowledge by various parties. On the other hand, ignorance or failing to do tacit knowledge have got detrimental consequences. As you can see, the cost is high, and it would be extremely expensive and takes time to replace a piece of knowledge or a resource that is very knowledgeable in the organization. Well, not a good sign, but if you look at the picture, the people are departing the organization. I suppose they may be sent away because of redundancy or retrenchment or whatever, right? On the financial books, this may be good. Company may be saving money. And typically that is one of the management decisions when the company is downsizing, but you're losing a lot of tacit knowledge. You are disrupting the organizational memory, and you are causing typically, downgrade in morale around the staff as well. And equally, this happened daily, if not weekly. We can't stop it. We're aging by the day. Everybody is. And so, all organizations are losing staff because of natural attrition, retirement, death, sickness, illness, and so forth. So they are exiting the organization in an expensive way in terms of the loss of knowledge. So I suppose, we need to act fast and act ably to retain knowledge. And just to further aggregate the real picture, in an organization, you have people, most important asset. People, they work in groups, they have discussions, they belong to project teams, and, they discuss a lot of things, but only a minimal amount of those things are being, captured or documented. Similarly, organizations may have different divisions, units. They may have intra-organizational communications, intra-organizational flow of knowledge, and they are also having inter-organizational flow as well. So there are leakages everywhere. Even though that some organizations who have done some KM efforts, which, for example, have set up repositories, search engines, and retrieval mechanism, you can't say that they are foolproof. There are also leakages in terms of not indexing things properly and not retrieving things appropriately. So again, there are leakages around those areas as well. So the leakage is significant, right? It's causing organization a lot of headaches. So these are some of the statistics that I've found in the public domain by various firms. Significant replacement costs causes project delays, downgrading customer satisfaction, and also affects the innovation capacity if tacit knowledge in particular is not being managed in a proper way. Well, you think organization doesn't know about it? No, of course, organizations they are well aware of the situation. This is just that there's nothing much that you can do about it, despite the research. All right, I'll come back to this about the reasons later on. But organizations are very aware about the cost and the risk of knowledge loss, and the cost and the risk and the implications of not being able to at least do something effectively to retain and share, especially tacit knowledge. At least we know, retiring experts, employee turnover, and also silos, because of the third industrial revolution, our organizational structure is full of silos, that's still contributing in a major way to the knowledge loss. And that leads to onboarding delays for new staff, duplicate work, reinventing the wheel, process inefficiencies, which is obviously not good, and also downgrading customer satisfaction, let alone the good customer experience. Well, I don't think I have time to cover everything, but I will try my best to give you a highlight of what my current research is about. So challenges in managing tacit knowledge, typical management principle. If there's a problem, you identify it, assess the risks and the implications of that problem, and then identify the proper techniques, in this case, mitigation measures, and then progressively apply them with continuous improvement. Well, be that as it may, academic research has been going on in this area for quite some time, I think 10, 15 years, including our group. We are published in this area as well. But overall speaking, the techniques being developed are still piecemeal. They have a lot of constraints, so it's not universally applicable. And the world is changing too fast for those methodologies and techniques to be widely deployed. There are books in this area as well. Again, the one on the right-hand side is by our former director, Professor W.B. Lee, where he collects all the monographs about the case studies that we have worked in our center on KM projects, up to about 200 of these projects, and he has published a book on that as well. But overall speaking, you can run your eyes over these major points. The problem with managing tacit knowledge could be contextual, could be lack of time, could be lack of expertise, the lack of standard tools, methodologies, and just at a loss about where to start and how to do it, how to measure the result, and all these, if that's not complicated enough. On the industry side, equally, there has been good work being done. I would say that, APQC is an exemplar. So you can go to the website and look up some of the reports that talked about retirement, loss of knowledge due to retirement and staff departure. And they further identified, for example, as you can see here, the common challenges in capturing tacit knowledge from retirement experts and also the consequence of knowledge loss. I've also summarized it in a sequence of slides here. There are a number of primary challenges. The first one is critical knowledge. No matter how powerful and resourceful a firm is, you will never ever have the bandwidth to cover all critical knowledge. So one of the first difficulty is to identify the critical knowledge so possessed by the organization. Again, if you look through this, it's two verbals, and that's deliberate because I want to convey a complicated picture, right? So within the organization's internal environment, a lot of information being generated, a lot of knowledge being generated, a lot of knowledge flow, but only a very minimal part of this is being documented, right? So retention is very poor and very small scale. And then in terms of external knowledge sources, even worse, this is in the outside world, in the untrusted area, and there are lots of things that organizations should tap into, but of course doesn't have the bandwidth, nor the expertise, nor the tools to, to pool and properly classify and, incorporate that into their repository or organizational memory. So the overall picture is not good. There could be lots of useful information that organizations can tap into, but because of various reasons, all these opportunities are lost. And going back to the problem of the critical knowledge, you can see here, piles of information and knowledge, and without proper methodology, and it's difficult to identify what will be the critical knowledge to an organization. In the coming years, because as I said, no matter how powerful and big your organization is, you never have the bandwidth nor expertise to try to do something with protecting and sharing your critical knowledge. It has to be a subset of the knowledge that you possess. The second challenge is silos. Everybody know what a silo is, but silos exists principally because we are now technically in the fourth industrial revolution. So that means we came from the third industrial revolution. The third industrial revolution, it's full of optimization, load sharing, as well as lowering costs, efficient processes. All these are cost containment measures. The organizational structure are being set up to be hierarchical, exerting control and governance, with the principle of precision, continuous improvement, measuring, rectification, monitoring, and so forth. And that goes against creativity, innovation, and the flow of knowledge. So therefore, you can see that there's a good analogy. Underground pipes, each of these pipes could be analogous to a unit, a department, and where the flow it's okay within that pipe, but there is a minimal or impossible knowledge flow across different departments. And in today's massively connected digital world, that is a significant disadvantage, because you can imagine that units in organizations could be very frustrated in reinventing the wheel, recommitting mistakes that other divisions have already committed because of the lack of sharing or the immense difficulty in sharing due to the silos. They cannot harness their collective expertise. So, it's not good in this situation. Another problem is, tacit knowledge is very dominant. I can't put an exact percentage on it. I've read something like about 80% or even more, although technically I don't think we can quantify knowledge. So a large proportion of knowledge is tacit knowledge in an organization. And that, again, scare people off, especially that we don't have expertise, we don't have methodology, we don't have standard tools to deal with them. Earlier on, I said that to make things even more complicated, we are not entirely conscious about our possession of tacit knowledge, and that takes me to Pfeffer and Sutton's knowing doing gap. We supposed to know what we know. We may know something that we don't know, but we do not know everything that we know, and we certainly may not know that things that we do not know. Right? So just to not to play around with words, but these are the four quadrants that are troubling all of us. Another advantage is motivation. And a challenge, not advantage. A challenge in handling tacit knowledge is motivation. When you're lack of expertise, lack of time, and don't know where to start, and there may not be any incentives. So, and there's no guarantee of success. So the motivational element is not high. So it's not hard to see that not many organizations are willing to do it. Okay. There's also technical barriers, as I mentioned earlier. And then there's time constraints in the real world, which I had spent 16 years in the industry. The first solution that works, it's good. Sometimes it's good enough. And you may not worry too much about the consequence and doing knowledge management with that solution. So, you surely do not have time to explore multiple solutions at length before you commit to it, because, the time pressure and competitive advantage are really pushing you to embark on a solution and get it done and over to the next task. Then there's the changing, workforce. composition of the workforce, the mobile workers, the distance divide among the workers. While we are all enjoying the use of virtual technologies, like now, linking people from different parts of the world, again, research has indicated convincingly, knowledge transfer is far more active and far more effective when, the transfer between the points are more adjacent to each other, and especially if there is a physical, environment governing them as well. So, virtual transfer over virtual environment works, but it's much inferior and less effective than knowledge transfer within a physical space, a physical adjacent space. Okay, so this is a summary of that. I'm not going to draw on that anymore. Now, there is, however, like at the end of the tunnel, though, they have been identified by various research and practitioners about in order to do something about retention and the sharing of tacit knowledge, we should try to identify the type of knowledge that we are trying to tackle and then align with the proper method. And that has been proven to be workable. Again, it may take time to do that. Remember, you have to identify the critical knowledge, the type of knowledge, identify and align the techniques, learn how to apply these techniques, and worse, not all of these techniques would work immediately. Sometimes you may have to wait for a while before, the effects sink in before you can measure it. Typically, organizations would using mentoring programs. I think there are several expertise mentor here, right? Job shadowing, storytelling, collaboration. That's a kind of a tool. Okay. Previous professor, former professor in George Washington University, Dr. Nancy M. Dixon, research identified that there are 5 types of knowledge transfer that we can identify. So taking a slightly different approach to the previous slide that I showed, we can also identify the type of knowledge transfer. Nancy Dixon has identified zero transfer, near transfer, far transfer, expert transfer, and strategic transfer, depending on the distance, depending on the task, depending on the skill of the people involved from A to B, A team to B team, and also depending on the complexity of the task that is involved. So, for example, during COVID days, China often is a big hand to Serbia, and flew over a team of 6 expertise from Beijing to help the Serbian government to set up the vaccination program. And Serbia became the first country in Europe to be vaccinated. So, that is a kind of a near transfer because the setup is exactly the same as in China. We're dealing with the same disease and the vaccine is the same. So, using the documents, externalized codified documents together with the vaccine appear to be very effective in enabling that transfer together with the 6 expertise, flying them over to Serbia. So that, to a large extent, get over the tacit knowledge problem on that occasion. That's life critical. All right, if you want more information, I suggest you go to David DeLong's book, which identify again along the types of knowledge, the different types of techniques that can be used to, to take care of the tacit knowledge transfer. And DeLong's book also reminds us about the time that needs to take in order for the transfer to be effective, the learning curve involved, and the power of those or effectiveness and the power of those techniques. So I've summarized it on this page here. For those of you who are interested, I'm happy to provide the slide. One of the very common methods that organizations apply to enable tacit knowledge, not immediately, but over time, is to set up communities of practice. And I'm happy to talk about that in a much elaborate sense on a different occasion. So let me just jump to talking about some of the case studies. I won't have time to talk about all of them because over time I've collected case studies from various industries from these firms, and I'm happy at the organization of a separate seminar to go through them in detail. But I can actually summarize these 5 points for you among all the case studies, and success very much based on these 5 factors. Trust-based relationship. Building trust is very important among the people who will be parting their knowledge and sharing the knowledge, and the people who will be acquiring knowledge. Cultural integration, and that's typically intercultural knowledge. Attention to the adaptation of different culture and values among different ethnic groups, and that's also a very important element. Measurement and evaluation, to be sure that you're on the right track, you're making progress, and enable you to identify problems and with continuous improvement. Well, we need to adapt a structured yet flexible approach. You may have to adapt it over time and recalibrate it depending on your progress. And leadership commitment is also important. Very interestingly, it's none of this is about technology. It's about people, about culture, about values, about leadership. Okay, so if you ever wonder, if given it's so important and so impactful, and the knowledge loss is such a detriment to organization, why organizations are ignoring this and not facing the KM problem with tacit knowledge, spot on, or head on, right? My research have identified that these areas, lack of ownership, it adds overhead to the existing operation, which in industry is always a difficult thing to ask. People may fear about loss of knowledge, so they may hoard knowledge instead of sharing, right? Difficult to gauge the progress and success of the initiatives, technology overload, technology misalignment, right? Cultural resistance, leadership priorities, which is already surfaced in the previous slide, and among others, lack of expertise on how to do it, and also lead time to take for these results to be realized, to be demonstrable. Okay, I'm in a home run here. Finish in 5 minutes or maybe even less. So, that said, looking forward, there's light at the end of the tunnel as well. Although, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but it can also add not only values but also challenges, and that is, the new wave of AI algorithms or machine learning will help to discover, the tacit knowledge through a huge amount of data. Okay, and that's something that we need to work on and review whether this tacit knowledge will be incorporated into the repository or to be shared. Immersive learning, which I've been using in my teaching and learning with students, typically using Metaverse, and it enables an extended environment. And that, interestingly, entice and provide a cozy environment for tacit knowledge to be easier to be shared and regularly, naturally to be shared. So much can be observed from them in the next slide. It's an ambient capture. We are doing that right now. We're right in the thick of it, with the Zoom software. It's listening to what we are saying, and it's documenting it, summarizing it. We have to check the AI summary, of course, but the AI is helping us to retain some of those tacit knowledge and codify it as explicit knowledge. So the trick is, I believe, it offers a new opportunity for us to harness tacit knowledge, new dimensions because of the data and the technology. How? Well, if you look at IoT, Internet of Things, there are a lot more sensors, a lot more data being generated. So scientists and engineers are reviewing these data and then developing countermeasures in order to solve any problems, right? So we can observe what they have done and then reverse engineer the tacit knowledge so involved, right? So digital twin is another powerful technologies that run something in parallel with the physical system. It can even simulate, the physical system to a level that the physical environment would not permit. So again, we do that and we observe how the practitioners and the scientists, draw their knowledge and solve those problems or any problem that is being emerged. So, observation through the use of these technologies, I believe, holds the key to harness more tacit knowledge, which previously was not able to do, right? Because previously, in my days, we were just interview, then asking questions and then documenting them. But now with the technology, we can stretch the reality to a new imaginary height, where this imaginary height is so close to reality, and we can randomize them. We can enumerate over all these possibilities, and with the help of tools and human observation, we can harness a lot of tacit knowledge that can be used for various purposes effectively. So I'm really looking forward to that. So just to wrap it up, the tacit knowledge constitutes the bulk of an organization's knowledge, critical decision-making, problem-solving, and innovation. Due to organizational design, people, behavior, culture, and nature of knowledge in exactness, tacit knowledge is extremely difficult to elicit, document, and transfer. Effective tacit knowledge management is very much dependent on the choice of methods, tools, systems, nature of knowledge, and others. Supporting technologies, including knowledge mapping tools, which I didn't cover in detail in this seminar because of the lack of time, they help to, effect some of the tacit knowledge transfer. There's big payoff for any organizations who manage to do success to any extent of Tacit KM. And finally, we should cultivate an environment for knowledge sharing, transfer, adopt appropriate methods, and pursue a continuous improvement environment. Now, before I finish, I'd like to remind everybody that GO-TKM has set up 5 think tanks on tacit knowledge. First one on impact of tacit knowledge on organizational performance. Second one on tacit knowledge on cultural teams. Third one on technological tools, and the fourth one on tacit knowledge and innovation. And number 5, tacit knowledge in healthcare. We believe these 5 themes are very precise and contributory to precisely, the forefront problems that TKM is confronting. So make yourself known if you are interested, and I'm sure that the facilitators will be happy to include you. And I believe that the session after this will be a talk or a discussion, right, about TKM think tank groups as well. All right. Finally, I just declared, come clean about compilation of this piece of research with the use of AI. Well, the background research supported by Perplexity.ai, Gamma.app, and MS Copilot, together with my intuition, of course. Second, some whole slide images are generated on Gamma.app, and some slides are generated by Gamma.app, Presenter Media, and Sketch. Wow. So thank you very much. And I think I should finish here and pass it back to the MC.
Thank you, Professor Eric, for this very intensive sharing about challenge and opportunity of TKM. So I would like the time goes slower, but unfortunately it goes so fast.